Had some extra space on the server this month, so I decided to upload this bonus edition of Phillies Talk Podcast. Here's a show we did back in July of 2014. We talked with Larry Shenk, Phillies Vice President and author. It was a great interview. Jimmy got along really well with him. Hope you enjoy it, and talk to you again in February for Pitchers and Catchers on Phillies Talk Podcast.
This is the Baron from the Phillies. Listen to Phillies Talk Podcast.
Welcome to Phillies Talk, the independent podcast from FightinPhillies.com, featuring news and views about Phillies baseball. Now, here's Rich Baxter and Jim Sports Dog Mulry talking Phillies baseball.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Phillies Talk. It's the Phillies Talk Podcast, your independent show talking all about the Philadelphia Phillies. My name is Rich Baxter.
My name is Jim.
And Jimmy, we've got a special guest on tonight for the program. We're going to preempt our usual talk about the Phillies and how they're doing on a weekly basis. And it's probably a good thing, Jimmy.
Yeah. We have Larry Shenk, president of the Alumni Association, Larry, and also you were traveling secretary for a while, weren't you?
No, I was PR, media relations.
Okay.
I didn't want to be traveling secretary. That was a hard job. I wanted an easy job to deal with the media every day.
Oh, because I thought I remembered in the olden days back at Connie Mack they would say Larry Shenk or traveling secretary or something like that.
No.
Well, of course, we have Larry Shenk on tonight. He's a special guest here, Phillies Vice President of Alumni Relations. And Larry, welcome to the program. And you have a great new book out, If These Walls Could Talk, stories from the Philadelphia Phillies dugout, locker room, and press box. What a nice book it is.
Thank you. It was a challenge putting it together, but when I stepped down from my full-time role after the 2007 season, my wife and my family and some friends and colleagues said, you've been around a long time, you got to write a book. And it didn't really sink in right away, but in October of 2012, I thought I'd start working on a potential book, and it came to be.
Do you feel fortunate, Larry, that you met all these fabulous? There's a couple of Phillies I wanted to meet, and everything. I would have loved to meet, and they're both deceased now. Of course, Richie Ashburn and they were broadcasters, and Harry Callis, but and Steve Carlton I wanted to always meet too. But don't you feel like you're very fortunate to have been in this field for all those years and met all these different personalities and everything?
Yes, very much so. Working for the Phillies was a dream of mine as a kid. I didn't care what I was doing. I really wanted to be a broadcaster because I love listening to games on the radio, and I still do listen to games on the radio. But I didn't have the skills for that, so I wound up as a PR guy, and I was the fourth guy in 4 years, which was made me a little nervous, whether it was the person or the organization. There were so many changes, but I guess I proved my worth by being there, and this is year 51 now.
That's excellent. So the book starts off talking about a lot of the famous Phillies, some Hall of Fame players, Pete Rose and Mike Schmidt amongst them, and it's just a treasure trove of stories you break right out talking about in the book. What are some of your greatest stories in there on individual players? I know you talk a little bit about Pete Rose and how he probably should be in the Hall of Fame as a player for what he accomplished on the field. What's your thoughts about Pete Rose?
Well, Pete was a delight to be around. He was with us for 5 years, and as a PR person, you couldn't ask for a better ball player. He was available to the media. He enjoyed doing the media stuff. Some players, they go hitless, or a pitcher gives up some runs, they're not available after the game. Pete was at his locker after every game, no matter whether they had 1 hit, 4 hits, or no hits. And he talked baseball, he lived baseball, he breathed baseball. He did do something wrong when he was managing the Reds, because Major League Baseball addresses gambling every year in every spring training camp, and there's posters in the clubhouse. And but for a guy that the way he played the game, that's the way you should play the game.
Absolutely, and you have several other players in the book, of course, Hall of Famer Mike Schmidt. And Schmidt had sort of a love-hate relationship from the fans. I guess it was a sign of the times, perhaps. But, I think he's probably one of the best all-time Phillies with the fans today. Would you happen to agree with that?
Yes, he made everything look so easy as an athlete. It looked like he wasn't trying. Didn't show much emotion. Was kind of a shy person, I would think. And so he didn't really come across. But once he became a Hall of Famer, that seemed to set the tone and love affair. And I think he's doing a terrific job now on Sunday telecast.
Larry, who do you?
Yes, he is. He really does.
Sorry, Rick. Larry, I'm just curious. Of all the Phillies players that you met, who were you the closest to?
Well, you don't get too close to them because we're management and they're not. But you deal with them every day.
Well, who did you like the best?
Well, my favorite would be Darren Dalton. Darren he did become a friend, and my wife did his fan mail for a few years there, and the 93 team, as we all know, was a bunch of misfits, and they were a tough team to deal with from a media perspective, but he was there to help me. He understood our role as PR people and was willing to help, and he's a man. He really is a man, and we watched him grow up from a skinny kid out of Arkansas, Kansas, to become a man and a leader, the best leader I ever seen.
Okay.
And of course, that 1993 team was unforgettable with the cast of misfits, as they were known as, with John Kruk and Lenny Dykstra and players like that. What was your overall greatest period, would you say, of players with the Phillies on a year-by-year basis? What team would you say would have the most memorable cast of characters, if you could name just one or two?
Well, the championship teams were all different. The 1980 guys came up through the farm system, so we spent years with them, from 71, 70, and then we finally won the World Championship in 1980. So you lived with them for almost 10 years. They were a great bunch of guys, and when I broke in with the 64 Phillies, I was the same age as the players then, and those guys were special to me too, because we bonded. Bobby Wine was a good friend. We're just 4 days or 5 days apart in their birthdays. So
that's a name out of the past, Larry. Bobby Wine.
Yeah. He looks much older than I am, even though I'm 5 days older.
All right. I didn't tell Rich this, but another vivid player I remember was Dick Allen. He was, I don't want to ruffle any feathers, but I thought that when he wanted to play, he could be one of the best ball players in the world. But when he didn't care, he just didn't care. But I thought when he was ready, he could play.
He could really play. All he wanted to do was win between the white lines. He didn't want to fuss with the other stuff. He was an excellent base runner. Took the extra base. Had some limitations defensively. But I think the best thing you can say about Dick Allen, if you're watching the Phillies game and he's coming up the bat, you don't go to the refrigerator to get a beer when he's hitting. You want to watch him hit because he could put on a show. He was a fearsome hitter. Hit some of the longest home runs at Cutting-Back Stadium we ever remembered.
Right. He's what's he doing now?
He's kind of semi-retired and spends some time in California and still lives on his farm in Wampum, Pennsylvania.
Okay. He was. I know. I liked the guy, but he had some monster shots. But it seemed to me like he would strike out at the most inopportune times sometimes. but he was. Yeah. He had his limits defensively, but he could hit a ball.
Yep. He was strong, quick. Great athlete.
Yes, he was.
Compared to the rest of us old fogies.
And Larry, you talked about the 1964 season, which was your first with the Phillies, and an interesting part of the book as well is you and your wife actually made the first Phillies media guide in 1964, before that was in fashion for the Phillies.
Yeah, we were the last professional team that didn't have a media guide, and I was told it wasn't necessary. It was a waste of money, so I decided we're going to make one ourselves. So my wife and I, we rented off in the mimeograph machine. We had to cut it. We rolled holes to put some posts in and screw it in. And she took the magic marker and covered 360 covers with a red Phillies hat. And that was the first media guide we had. The next year I went ahead and got one printed by a professional. Didn't ask permission. I just did it and got away with it. So.
Yeah, that's an awesome story. It's a real down-home type of a story. You would never believe that was true unless you read that book of yours.
I bet that media guy's worth some bucks.
The way he said it is, and we just moved from Wilmington, Delaware to Glen Mills, at Marist Grove, and I found...
Yeah, we've got, Richie and I have been fortunate. We've got some of the books that, you wrote, the book you wrote, the book about Schmidt, and the one that Dallas Green wrote. And that book is really good. I know he could be kind of temperamental, but he seemed like he was a character too. Dallas Green, was he somewhat of a character, Larry?
He was a very good guy. He was a very good friend. We're very close. But when he took over as a manager in '79 and '80, he didn't pull any punches. And
I know.
His book was aptly named "The Mouth That Roared" because he had a good voice. Yeah. And it's a great book that he wrote last year. But he
is a good guy, though.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he's had some very terrible tragedy in his life, but I was just wondering. I read that. I finished the book, and I was chuckling at some of it, and I just wondered because I figured you knew him pretty well.
Yeah, he doesn't pull any punches.
No, he doesn't.
Well, Larry, you talk about the opening of the Vet in the book, and also the closing of Veterans Stadium. What's your most vivid memory about the Veterans Stadium being open in 1971 in Philadelphia?
We were just so excited to get out of Connie-Mack Stadium because it was so decrepit and dirty and antiquated. There was no amenities for fans. There was no parking. And the offices were awful. So we were so happy to get out into this new multi-purpose stadium, which served its purpose for 30 years. We enjoyed it, with that being our home, and when it was time to close it, we wanted to put on a great show, and our goal was to have more tears and one lasting memory of the Vet, and I think we accomplished that with our closing ceremonies.
Yeah, the closing ceremonies still stick out in my mind. It seemed like every few weeks there they were having a special parade of old Phillies from different years, and it's something we really haven't seen too much of in Citizens Bank Park. I mean, they do have the occasional alumni meetings, but nothing like that closing of the Vet, and I'll always remember that.
It was a special thing. We wanted to put on a great show. A bunch of us saw some other closings in other ballparks, and there was no finality in the one that I saw, so we wanted to do something and top it off. And the greatest moment in our history at Citizens Bank, Veterans Stadium, was Tug McGraw striking Willie Wilson. So that was our goal, to bring him out one more time. And of course, Tug was battling brain cancer at the time. We didn't know until just a few hours before he could come out whether he could even make it on the field that night. So,
wow, it
was a great thing. We had a good group of us. I was the leader, but we had a good group of front office people to help carry that thing through.
Yeah, they've got the 71. Sorry, Rich. So the 71 season, Larry. I was there one game in 71, and you can have a lot of fun with trivia. Like Don Money hit the first home run there, and am I not mistaken? Do you remember who the first batter was for the Expos in that first game?
I know.
Boots Day.
Boots Day is correct.
How about
Montreal Expos. Jim Bunning was the starting pitcher.
Yep.
Chris Wheeler was at that game. He's sitting in the 700 level in right field.
How about that? Old Boots Day, yeah. Did Roger Freed hit the first grand slam in that stadium? Because I know his name is in there for something. He hit the first grand.
It might have been. He was the first guy that was caught eating fried chicken in the sauna.
Okay. Roger Freed. Oh, boy.
He was trying to lose weight and he was eating fried chicken in the sauna.
Oh, jeez.
Yep. Well, the book's called If These Walls Could Talk, The Philadelphia Phillies, Stories from the Philadelphia Phillies Dugout, Locker Room, and Press Box. And we'd like to thank Mr. Larry Shenk, the Baron, Vice President of the Phillies Alumni Association. And Larry, one more question for you. How did you get the nickname of the Baron?
Well, I was working at the Wilmington News Journal in the sports department, and Al Cartwright was the sports editor. And he worked in the daytime, and I worked in the morning news, which meant I worked at nighttime, and he would leave you notes in the mailbox. And he would always leave me notes, Baron von Shenk, because of my German background, I guess. And the Baron stuck, and it's ever been that from 1963 till now.
You're still with the Phillies, though. You're still employed by the Phillies.
I'm still active with the alumni. We have our alumni weekend coming up in August, our annual tradition. I write a blog on our website, and I have an alumni page on our website. So,
anybody good going to be like from the? You got anybody from '71, the first year of the vet, like Wayne Twitchell or Willie Montanez or anything?
We had some of those guys earlier. We're kind of featuring the 10-year anniversary of Citizens Bank Park, so the alumni is going to be a little bit younger type of people. You know, guys like Jenkins and Eberthal and Tom Gordon.
Yeah, you know, it's Rich and I do our podcast, and Larry, I love the Phillies more almost than anything in life, but they're frustrating this year, aren't they?
A little bit.
I think they need to make some changes. Do you?
Yeah, but I don't know what you can do.
I know.
You know, people say trade Jimmy Rollins, who's going to play shortstop? You know,
yeah.
Trade Cutler, who's going to play second base? You know, and it's the most puzzling offense I've ever seen. I think I just don't understand how they can't score runs.
I know.
On paper they should be. Yeah. On paper they should be doing much better than they're doing.
We're not world beaters anymore, but we're better than what we're playing.
Yeah, Michael Barkan made a great comment one time. He said, with the talent they got, they should wake up and play 500 ball. You know, be able to play 500 ball. But I think, I mean, Cliff Lee's injury's hurting them, but I think what's my opinion would hurt the Phillies is when they got rid of all these prospects for, you know, all these players that they got, and that they have nobody coming up. And I think the Hunter Pence trade kind of sort of started the end of the line for the Phillies. I don't know why. I think he sort of, you know, glued the team together. But that's just my opinion. But I think that's one of the trades that kind of started the downfall.
Yeah, it maybe it did, but at the time it was a great trade. You know, we were in the midst of the thing. We needed a right-handed hitter to play right field, and you only get so many chances to grab that gold ring, so we went for it.
Yeah.
And you give up something to get something.
Yep.
That's for sure. Well, I appreciate you joining us tonight on the show, Larry. Thanks very much.
All right, guys. Take care.
All right, Larry. Nice talking to you.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
And check out Larry's book, If These Walls Could Talk. It's on Triumph Books. You can find it on Amazon.com, and you can find it everywhere you can read great books. Well, Jimmy, it was great to have Larry on the show tonight. What do you think of it?
I thought it was excellent. He is an encyclopedia. That man, oh my gosh. I mean, I thought I knew some old players. This guy is a trivia nut. I mean, Boots Day, I mean, I'm there like, holy cow, this guy is good.
He was working while that game was going on. Come on. I said he was employed by the Phillies. He was working on that game.
You know, that's 43 years ago, Rich. You know.
Yeah, that's a great memory. Well, it was a nice talk with Larry Shenk.
He's like a real nice guy, too. And now with
does.
his connection, maybe we can get some ex-Phillies on, you know. I'd love to get somebody like Dick Ruthven or, you know, somebody played on an 80 team, you know, that would be great. Or somebody played on the 83 team like John Denny or, you know, somebody that could get some real insight to what's going on.
That's for sure. Well, we'll have to see if we can get some of those big names of the past in the Phillies. And, Jimmy, it was another great show. Appreciate talking with you on the show as well. You're a Phillies maven yourself. And you have a great week, and we'll talk some more Phillies, how they're doing. Hopefully it turns around for them a little bit on the next edition of Phillies Talk.
Thank you.
Check us out at fightinphillies.com and find Phillies Talk Podcast on iTunes, Android, baseballpodcast.net, Stitcher Radio, and TuneIn.com.
And once again, it was great fun talking with Larry Shenk. We want to thank him for being on the show, Phillies Vice President of Alumni Relations, and his great book, If These Walls Could Talk. stories from the Philadelphia Phillies dugout, locker room, and press box. Check that book out. It's a great summer read. You can also get it on Kindle. Check out the website at fightinphillies.com. You can link right to amazon.com and pick up this book. It's a really great collection of stories about the Phillies. Well, we'll talk to you all again on the next edition of Phillies Talk Podcast. We're going to have some All-Star Game stories for you, as the All-Star break will be in effect by the time almost our next show comes across the airwaves. So thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you again on the next edition of Phillies Talk.
That one's hit out towards center field. Pretty well hit. Diaz on the run. Back to the track, to the wall. It is gone! Darren Ruff has just tied this baby up. Out towards second. Diving stop. Utley flips to second for one. Rollins tries, and he does turn the double play.
Do I know if the rest of the lineup is going to be fine? If I knew that, don't you think I'd do something about it? Does anybody else know that, Howard? Do you know it? I don't think so. I know you don't know it, matter of fact. Hey, who does know it?
Oh, look at that. We're going back to back. Michael Young and Ryan Howard. And the Phillies now lead it 6-1. His second home run of the day, and how about 4 RBIs?
I got to tell you, that's just an emotional swing. That's a familiar ride there as he comes in to home plate. Solid contact.
Air to left field. Going back on it. It is gone! Kevin Franzen sends everybody home with an 8-7 victory here in the bottom of the ninth inning. How about that? And that baby was way out. Way out of the ballpark.
No doubt. The only doubt on that one was how far it was going to go. That baby ran right into his wheelhouse, and he just crushed that thing way out to left. Here it is, good stride.
Little fighting Phil's coming back fighting here.